This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably.
What do you got going on right here? What is this thing right here?
This?
Oh, that's your mic. Oh, there it is.
Pop filter
Ooh.
for the blue snowball.
Ooh, the blue.
Pop.
Oh, see, blue snowball was already taken. See, I can't take blue. There's the blue ice ball right there.
The blue ice ball. Right, the blue ice ball. Blue snowball, blue ice ball, Yeti snow monster, abominable snowman. We're going to do a unique intro on this, and we're just going to take various little rants and riffs, and that'll be the intro on this one. And we'll talk about blue snowball, blue Yeti, collage that all together.
Love it.
That'll be our intro, and then Corey and I will start.
I love it. And then we'll end with a love fest.
Exactly.
When I first met you, I was so good.
I can't believe it, man. You're awesome. This entire episode's going to be just outtakes.
Oh, yeah.
We thought we'd do the outtakes episode. We're doing professional yelling.
Professional yelling, yes.
Professional yelling into the microphone. So, yeah, what do you think? I don't know. Ah!
You know more when you yell louder. That's what it is.
I never thought of it that way, but you're probably right. My guest today on The Speaking Show, Corey freaking Perlman of Impact Social Media. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. An honor to be here, brother. Anytime to get to spend an hour with you is a good way to start the day.
1 hour? This is going to be like 3 hours. What do you mean 1 hour?
Hey, I got nothing planned after this.
Yeah, good. So we're going to have lunch. We're going to have drinks. We're going to go, play some Frisbee. I don't know what's going on, but it's going to be awesome.
I'm excited. Let's do this.
So you and I first met back when your company was called eBootcamp. And you've written a fabulous book called eBootcamp back, in the dark ages of the internet. And one of the newer books is also Social Media Overload. And the newest book, can we share the newest upcoming book?
We can, although there may be a little bit of a detour. And you know what? I would love to hear feedback from our fellow speaker friends. One potential direction is the daily post, which is a culmination of 10 years of posting to social on a daily basis and sort of best practices from that. And another title that I'm considering is Authentically Social, and essentially being your authentic social self on social media. There'll be a better subtitle than that.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's really cool. So yes, and we can certainly get feedback from people. We're going to share this episode on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. And as you guys are listening to this, if you have some feedback for Corey about the next book. But let's go back. I want to just maybe a good starting point is let's talk about how books have been a driver of your business. eBootcamp was what, 2008?
2009.
2009.
I traditionally published that book with Wiley. And at the time, it was exactly what I needed to do because I did not have any platform, zero credibility, starting my business. So having a traditional publisher background was helpful for me in terms of, getting in bookstores and I would say some client relationships. There were a few clients out there, associations, speaking, potential gigs that actually care that I was traditionally published versus self-published, I would say. So that was definitely helpful. And they were helpful in distribution, not that helpful, but sort of helpful in distribution for the first book. And then the second book, Social Media Overload, I self-published. And I really enjoyed doing that because I got to keep, the majority of the revenue from the book. So I buy my book for $3 and I sell my book for $20. And there's a good spread there. And so I do that typically at every speaking engagement. Either I pre-sell the books or if I don't. Some people don't like to do this. Like Neen James hates to bring books with her. We joke about this all the time. I love bringing books with me. I love having the $20 bills. It goes back to my little kid days, my pockets will be stuffed and I'll go back on my bed on the hotel bed and I'll count all the 20s that I got.
You like to lay out the drug money.
It is kind of like that. It's weird, man. Yeah. I spread it all out. I'll take pictures and send them to my wife. I think she's going to think it's sexy or something, but
honey, I am rolling around in $980 of $20 bills right now.
Right. If that, maybe it's $412. It's like somebody gave me $6. I'm like, yeah, here.
Right. Hey, this is all I got is $6. Fine, I'll take it. No problem. Whatever. I'm still making 100% profit, by the way.
Exactly. I'm still happy, but if I was traditionally published.
Oh, forget it, man. You'd be like 75 cents, $1.25 at the most.
So there's pluses and minuses to our friends listening out there. If you're considering the traditional versus self self-publishing route. I still to this day think there's reasons to do both. And oftentimes the reasons are dictated for you. If you can't get a publishing deal, well, then you're going to self-publish.
Right.
But if you do have the opportunity like you do to have a publishing deal, you really do need to think through the pluses and the minuses to both and figure out what's right for you.
Exactly right. So back in the e-bootcamp days, and you and I talked about this previously, the business model was primarily public programs. And so they were social marketing, digital marketing boot camps, usually 2 days.
Yep, hands-on 2-day boot
Two-day event, and you'd go to various cities and you would market and you would pre-sell. And how much was a ticket typically?
$1,500, and I would probably discount down to like $997.
Okay, so $1,500. There was probably some early bird incentives, some other things you were doing, and that was the butts in the seats business.
It was, yeah. And for a while, it was working crazy.
So I know that is one of the hardest ways to make a living in the speaking business. You obviously did it for years and years with great success. What were some strategies if people are thinking, man, I would love to do a public workshop. I would love to do, a self-funded, self-guided 10-city tour and do a program in Atlanta and then go to Boston and take it to New York and go to Seattle and Dallas. And how would you get started on that? Or what would you do differently today to kind of get a better foothold on getting butts in seats?
Well, one of the things that I was told right around the time that I wrote eBootcamp, which was very helpful information, I think a lot of us know it today, but I certainly didn't know it then, was to whatever your product is going to be, to make sure that you have that throughout the book, and you kind of like hint at it throughout it. And I did that pretty well. I mean, the name of the book was eBootcamp. I talked about our eBootcamps. And so it became, we often talk about this, books are like the glorified business card. And I think that's true, and if you don't do that, then you're missing the boat. Like with your new book coming out, like what your key solutions are for your clients and making sure that gets softly mentioned throughout the book. And I did a pretty good job of that with eBootcamp. So that sold a lot of seats for me. I would also say that the first few obviously were difficult to sell because there was no, experience behind it. So what I did was I would sell those cheaply, if not free, or, scholarship people in. And then one thing that would happen at mine, and I'm sure will happen with the folks that are considering doing this, is because it's hands-on, people have transformational experiences. Okay. So they are just blown away. You've got to capture that testimonial at that time. So at the end of every 2-day, for the last 45 minutes while people were working on things, I would bring people out of the room and I'd have them sit down like we are right now with a video camera in front of them. And how did it go? And they're sweaty, they're tired, they're intense, they're just like worn out. And they're just, it's a love fest. And I would use that as my big part of my sales material moving forward. So that was a huge one for me.
So the first one, or the first few, let's say, are going to be tough. You might even lose some money. But the first few give you the momentum and the rocket fuel to get to do number 3, number 4, number 17, and ongoing, correct?
Yeah, I would let my first few eBootcamp graduates sell the rest of them for me. Yeah. And they did an excellent job. So, and I think you can take that principle and take it with anything that we talk about for the rest of this call, is get your champion customers to be your sales force. So in whatever you're doing, no one will sell your solutions better than your clients and customers.
Yeah. Social proof, testimonials, video in your face. Oh my God, this program changed my life. Do you bring a sweat bottle, like a spray bottle where you can spray people down and make it look like there's beads of sweat coming down their face?
I'll do that. And sometimes I'll even give them a little slap in the face to make them look just worn out. And because that was the 2-day philosophy, is you would come and you'd work your off for 2 days and people would just be done. And I liked that sort of scene that would create from those testimonials, as they were just worn out, because that was the value proposition.
And so you struck a real chord there. I want to just back up the truck for a minute. Please make sure that you pay attention to what Corey just said. It's not about information. It's about transformation. I would even go further, because with your programs, it's not even about information. It's about implementation. They would roll up their sleeves, open up their laptop, make changes on their website, make changes on their social profiles, optimize their LinkedIn, connect with people on LinkedIn right there in the room while you're telling them, by the way, when you want to use the triangulation strategy to see who knows who, and then take that conversation offline and then get the introduction, they're going, oh my God, Jim knows Sue, Sue knows Fred, Fred knows Barbara. And they're doing it in the room as you're coaching them and teaching them to do that.
Yeah, that was the huge added value piece, I think, to especially executives and folks, that I would just force them to sit in a room for 2 days and do social media, which they normally wouldn't do, for business,
Right.
and really learn it and sit down and do it. And I would always joke that the doors are locked, they can't get out, and they were just forced to do that. And I'd have a couple of my team members, by the way, circling around and helping, in my world of social and digital, especially back in 2010, 11, 12. It was so new to people that they get so frustrated and overwhelmed. So to have people behind them to help them was really, really helpful, I think, to their experience. But yeah, to your point, part of the transformational experience is for them to roll up their sleeves and do it. So for the people that are listening, for the ability for people to get done inside the rooms with you is unbelievably valuable to them. And I think the other thing that I think was really helpful for these folks, and a little bit of my secret sauce, was the ability to be able to communicate it in a layman's term way, in a simplified, easy to do way. And so whatever you guys can do, obviously, with your solutions and stuff, make sure it's easily implemented. People feel very comfortable in the setting, things of that nature. And the last thing I'll just say about those 2 days real quick, David, is what I learned over that experience too, that's been unbelievably valuable for my experience, is you got to figure out as entrepreneurs what you love to do and what you don't love to do. And I did love those, but they were hard work for me, a lot of work for me. And part of the reason I don't do them as much anymore is it just wasn't right for me anymore. So I just think that's a reminder to your entrepreneurial friends, just to keep an eye on that and what you love to do and what you kind of start to find yourself not loving to do, and try to stop what you don't love to do.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that, because my next question, Corey, was going to be about moving from that 2-day deep dive laboratory, roll up your sleeves training mode into what you're doing a lot of now, which is keynote speaking, right? Keynote speaking, shorter programs, half-day programs, main stage, where people are not necessarily opening their laptops and implementing, but you're being the messenger of that message. Tell us how you made that leap from the kind of training and boot camp world into more keynote. I know you're doing that, and we'll also talk about the agency side of things, because that's really cool. But how'd you make the leap from training into keynoting?
I kind of have to talk about the agency just for a second, because that was a part of the beginning, I think, and part of the reason I moved into that format. A lot of it was not intentional or strategic, anything like that. It was more, I always joke, kind of like falling backwards into it. And so when I was doing the 2 days, and even any kind of speaking format, there would always be people in the room who would say, we really like what you said, we just don't think we can do it. And I'd say, well, I could do it for you, and I started doing it myself, the social postings, the emails, the blogging, all that kind of thing, and just taking a monthly fee from that. So I did that right off the bat, and I didn't mean to do it, but whatever speaking career I was going to have moving forward, I was always going to have that agency model behind me. And basically the reason the agency was started was simply because I was doing the stuff myself, and I got overwhelmed and frustrated with so much work that was coming in because of these people saying they couldn't do it, that I hired a few people. Thus, an agency was started. So it wasn't like, oh man, I'm going to start an internet marketing social media agency. No, I just got overwhelmed and hired a few people, and an agency was born. So as I moved into shorter formats, I just I guess, this is not a very sexy answer, David, but instead of 2 days, I was like, gosh, I could get paid decent money and be able to do it in a lot shorter format, So it went down from 2 days to maybe 2.5 hours. I was doing a lot of those for a while, a hands-on workshop. And that kind of went down to 90 minutes, and now 60 minutes and 45 minutes. And one of my biggest challenges that I'm sure some of your listeners are facing is, as a workshop trainer, figuring out how to be a better keynoter is challenging for me. So one of the things I'm continuously working on into 2019 is how to do things differently to be a keynoter than a trainer / workshop, performer. But I have done a lot of those. And the beauty with my business model, and I would recommend this, although everybody's model is different, is having that back end, having that second level, having that alternative income resource. So that for me, figuring out what my lifestyle was going to be like, I didn't want to be on the road 75 times a year. So having the agency behind me allows me to speak about 30 times a year. Some of those are keynotes, David. Some of those are breakouts. Some of those are workshop formats. And they're a mix of those, but agency business always comes out of it.
Hey, good looking. Are you currently getting paid to speak? Would you like to ramp that up? We can help. Book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team at doitmarketing.com/call, and let's see what we might do together. The call is free, but the results may be priceless. And this also leads me to ask about the name change, right? Because we had eBootcamp is the book, eBootcamp is the keynote, eBootcamp was the 2-day workshop, everything was eBootcamp. And when you said, you know what, wow, I'm not sure that fits anymore. I'm not really doing a lot of these boot camps, or I've really modified my business model and my delivery model. And so just recently, you changed the name of the company, of the agency, to Impact Social Media. Talk about what went into that name change, kind of spiritually, ego-wise, because man, doing something for like whatever, 10, 12 years under one name and then saying, nope, we're changing it. And you have intellectual property around that old name, and you've got some, I'm sure, some affection and some personal investment in that old name. And tell us how the journey was worth the trip in that renaming and rebranding.
I guess I'll figure this out down the road when Talia changes her last name from Perlman to whatever it might be, but this is as close to that as I can think of in terms of like the emotional connection to the name, because there absolutely was. My mentor helped me with that program many years ago at General Motors. I mean, it's been a part of my career since day one. But, my team helped me along the lines with that a lot by basically saying, this name doesn't make sense for us anymore. We'll pick off little value pieces as we go through this. But one of the things I'll just mention to the folks listening is, value the heck out of your team, man, whoever's on your team. And, sometimes we don't know what's right in front of our face. And they did better than I did. And they came as a cohesive unit and just said, I think it's time for a name change. We're just not doing this anymore. And I think they were right. And the other part, I always think about listening to the little positive taps in the universe that you talk about. And I would be sitting there being introduced as a speaker, and I would say 8 out of 10 times they mispronounced eBootcamp's name. You're probably the only person consistently in my life that has said that name correctly over and over and over again. And I know that sounds weird.
How do you screw up eBootcamp?
You just do. I don't know if it's reading it. I don't know if they're nervous, but it's eBookcamp. It's been eButtcamp. Anything under the sun, but it's not right. I can tell you that it's been over and over and over again. So that would just be a, nails down a chalkboard thing for me that reiterated it was time for a change. And then the process of going through it was tremendously difficult. And to this day, I'm not still sure that it's ever going to be right or perfect, but it does describe what we do a lot more than eBootcamp does for 2 reasons. One is we're a social media marketing company. And the second is that my team and myself, we have a big passion for being an impact on the world. And so we do like a service day every month with a non-for-profit, and we'll just spend half a day with them doing social media advice for them for free. And so it's something that brings my team together. We love it. There's a lot of energy that goes through it. It makes us feel good. We let our clients know that they are supporting this initiative, which it goes really well. We've done like 8 of them, and they've just been awesome. And so every time my business does better, if I can find a way to impact my community or the world in some form or fashion, because of that, it feels really good. That kind of circle of, reciprocity kind of thing. So that's where that name comes in. And then last but not least, David, the really cool story that I've never even told you this is how we got the name. We were impactsocialagency.com. but I wanted impactsocialmedia.com. But this IP trademark guy that I secretly found who owned the domain name, it was this guy. I did that by doing a who is lookup, which just in case for those of you, if you're ever looking for a domain name, you see it's taken, you can go to whois.net or, just Google who is, and you can do a search. And if their information's public on the registrar where they bought the domain, you can find their email, their phone number, all that. So I found his email address. I emailed him for months, never hearing back. Finally, months later, I heard back from him and he said, yeah, I'm interested in selling. Let's talk. And so I was like, man, this guy's I'm picturing this guy's in New York City. He's like a gazillionaire, blah, 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 blah. I told him a little bit about what we're doing in our company in the email. So when we talked, he said, I got good news for you. I'm willing to sell you the domain. How much do you want to buy it for? I was like, oh boy. I was like, I'd really like not to spend more than like $1,000, And he's like, well, I got better news for you. I read about what you said about you guys doing this impact campaign with these non-for-profits. I have a non-for-profit that's near and dear to my heart. If you'll do one for them, I'll give it to you for free. And I was like, done. I just couldn't believe it, and he did. He gave it to me for free. And we did this awesome service day for his non-for-profit that he was passionate for. And we owned the domain. So that was
What's his not-for-profit?
It was, I knew you're going to ask me that, you schmuck.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Cool,
we'll give this guy some more love and more money and more support, and we'll help him out too.
Well, that's awesome. And here's even a crazier thing that connects you is that it ended up being that this non-for-profit was in Windsor, Canada. I won't say the name properly and we'll put it in the link notes, but it's like Downtown Windsor Community Association. And what they do is they help resolve homelessness in downtown Windsor. And ironically, one of my employees, Lauren, lives in Windsor. And you know Phil, her significant other,
Right.
he lives in Detroit, right over the river. Well, anyway, I was able to get Lauren to come to their office and do the day session at their location to make it even greater. So we happened to have one of my 5 employees lived in the city that they were in. It was just a crazy thing. And so, yes, let's put the non-for-profit link in there with the show notes. I'd appreciate that. And I know he would as well.
Awesome. What a great story. Now, I know you and I were in a brainstorming meeting. This was maybe a year before you decided to change the name. And I thought we came up with a winner. I thought we really had a winner because you're a huge bourbon fan. I'm a huge bourbon fan. We're talking about those big round ice balls that they put into most bourbon drinks, like nice bark so that, the big ice ball doesn't melt as fast. And ice ball, social media, ice ball. Dude, you left that one on the table. I just don't know why.
I did. I wish there was a camera, folks, at this brainstorming meeting to see my face when everybody all of a sudden got excited about ice ball media. Ice ball media. Ball. Could you imagine having ball in the name of your company every day?
Put some balls in your marketing. Put some balls in your marketing. Freeze it up. Come on, people.
I mean, the creativity is endless on what you could do as ice ball media. We were so close, David. So close.
Put the ice ball in your glass and start to market your
Nice.
We've just now earned a parental advisory rating. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yes, we've crept up to PG-13.
We've now totally stooped to, all kinds of depth.
Let me just mention one other thing about you, David. Having people in your life to look you straight in the eye and be like, what the bleep are you doing? Is very helpful. And that was one of those times was David when this was over the phone, but I could still feel the stare and the look of just like, you idiot. When I told David that I'm thinking about, instead of the name of my new book, instead of social media, it would be social Udia. It would be all about you, social Udia. What do you think about that, David? And there was just this long pause and you said, go ahead, I'll tee you up. What exactly did you say?
I think I just said something like, no.
Yep. I think that was pretty right. Yeah. You're just like, nope.
No.
I think you might have said that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
So pause, right? Meaningful pause. That is the dumbest name I've ever heard for a book.
And to this day, we laugh about it because my team also thought it was the dumbest name they could possibly. So anytime a dumb idea comes out now in my team, they're always like,
They actually mention my name now.
They do.
That's a pneumatic idea, dude.
That's towing the social Udia line there, buddy.
Towing the social Udia line.
So anyway, have good, honest people, in your court.
For sure. Amen. And on your team and so forth. But related to the team that you said, value your team, love your team, listen to your team. You started out as a company of one, and now here you are managing an empire. And any speaker who wants to grow their business, scale their business, bring on staff, whether it's marketing staff or have some sort of done-for-you component, agency, for example, other trainers or other consultants who are going to go out and teach your stuff, you, by default, became a manager. So now you're not only a business owner and not only a speaker, but you are now a business owner and a speaker who manages 5 people. How's that journey been? And where do you think, or how do you think that has helped you expand your skill set just as an entrepreneur?
It's helped a lot. And I've grown a lot in that role. And I've got a lot more to go for sure. And I think about that a lot, especially recently. And so I got 2 things specifically for you that has helped a lot in that journey that I hopefully will help those that are listening. One is something that I heard from Richard Branson a long time ago, which was, treat your employees better than your customers. When I heard that, it was the right place, right time. And I was like, that's right. Customers will come and go, but a really valuable employee, should and hopefully will be with you for, a career time instead of a lifetime. And so that has been something I've tried to do as much as I possibly can, is really invest in them, obviously, but make them fully aware that I care about them. And it's not just saying that, but actually doing that. One of the things I do for one of my employees, she gets overly stressed with our work sometimes. There's a lot to do. Clients can be tough sometimes. and she will take care of everybody else instead of herself. So one of the things I figured out I would do is I budget $100 a month to her that she has to have me time. So she sends me a receipt of something that she does for herself and I pay for it. But if she doesn't do it, it goes away. It forces her to do something for herself every month. And so that's just a little something that, she knows that I do because I care about her and I want to make sure that she's doing okay and that she's taking care of herself. And the other thing that has been really helpful in managing, I got from our friend Brian Walter, who is the national president of the National Speakers Association. Jill Schiffelbein, it's her birthday today, so happy birthday, Jill. And I were co-chairs at the National Speakers Convention this past year. And one of the things that I learned from Brian is unwavering loyalty. So no matter what the situation is with your team, as you guys grow together, make sure that they can say about you as their manager, as their leader, that you have unwavering loyalty to them. And that will mean so much to them as you guys go to battle each and every day in your business. So sometimes I want to snap back and say, Jody, Carla, Jess, no, you're wrong. The client is right. You need to, and I stop myself and say, no. Is it worth doing that? Let's stay loyal to them. We'll fix this problem, but don't turn your back. Don't go against your team. And it's just been something that I've just been working on a lot. And it's not always perfect, but we have a strong team and that's just been really helpful. So hopefully that's helpful to you guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think all of those things about loyalty and team comes first and having infinite patience and infinite amounts of love and support and understanding, even when they screw up, because our teams occasionally screw up.
Yeah, we all do.
At least once a year, there's some screw up on my side of things.
Yeah.
And, maybe even twice a year or twice a week or whatever it is. But yes, unwavering loyalty. And, that's how to get the best out of people. They'll go to bat for you if they know that you have their back 100%.
And our buddy Phil, who edits your podcast.
This one
right here.
This right here.
Yeah. He started out as editing my podcast, Business Over Bourbon. And I found Phil on, I think it was Upwork.com or Fiverr.com. But those are the two sites that I will tend to, especially with not my full-time employees, but just, starting to offload some things that you don't need to be doing yourself, kind of firing yourself.
Outside experts that on a job-by-job basis.
Yep. And I think that you're, entrepreneurs and experts that are listening, as you're starting to grow and get busier, you always got to find ways to fire yourself. And having Upwork and Fiverr.com as two resources to find ways to do that are great. And what I would do is give them little things to do. And if they do them well, give them more and more and more. And that's how the relationship with Phil went, where he just did such an amazing job that I basically just turned everything over to him. I trusted him with everything on my podcast, as I know you do. And then he introduced me to his girlfriend, Lauren, who's now become one of my, top 5 awesome, amazing employees. So it all can start with some of these resources out there that you can, quote unquote, go on first dates on with your business. And that's Upwork and Fiverr, which are great resources.
Yeah,
put those in the notes.
What a great episode. Wowza. Tell you what, if you want to ramp up your revenue as an expert who speaks professionally, you should really check out our free online training at doitmarketing.com/webinar. Now, I know that you have a ton to share about this, and we may even have to bring you back for a whole separate show about this topic. But I know that in your seminars, in your keynotes, in your new book, you make a very big deal about this, which is about showing your humanity online and in social media. Mm-hmm. And if you love a band, if you, have kids, if you believe in charitable causes, if you play, tennis with your dad, if you're doing any of these things to personalize and humanize your professional social media presence. Talk about that, why people are resistant to that, how you've developed some business just by being totally authentic and totally transparent with your kind of blurring the lines between your personal and professional persona.
Sometimes it's easier to talk about somebody else than you talk about yourself. So in this case, I just remember probably about 3 or 4 years ago, this guy named David Newman, who was kind of shifting his business. And you and I would, we're obviously very close and we're having a lot of these conversations. And I just noticed this shift that you did on social that I thought was so profound. It was actually a big part of my idea around how important your unique self is in this is that you just sort of let go of trying to be everything to everyone, and you start really being your authentic self on social kind of. And for you, that authentic self was a little bit in your face, a little irreverent, just kind of, rough edges, right? And you would say things that were polarizing. And what I would notice is the amount of just engagement you would automatically and all of a sudden get where you weren't getting before. And not all of it was good. Some of it was against you, And I started to say to myself, David, what are you doing, man? Like, you're starting to diminish your brand, is what I started thinking. I was like, you're committing business suicide here. And what you were doing is exactly the opposite. You were actually launching your coaching career in a different way where you're going to say, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this anymore. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. And it was just, I watched the whole thing unfold. It was very powerful to me, So that for me was a great example of being your one true human self. It's got to be you. You can't fake it. If you weren't really like that, if you didn't tell me that I'm an idiot about social media just between you and me, and you sugarcoated it then, and then you went on social, it doesn't work that way. You got to just be you. But it worked really well for you. So I think the question that everybody needs to ask themselves is, what is that unique value proposition to yourself? What do you bring to the table? And how can you really showcase that on social? And wouldn't it be nice to be able just to be our own unique selves on social and not have to have this, everybody talks about in the audience, well, I want to have my personal Facebook page and I can be myself there. And then I want to have this business page where I'm essentially somebody else. That's no fun. Don't do that. Why should we do that this day and age? So, now you do all that with a grain of salt. You don't commit business suicide by telling everybody how much you hate blank or you love blank when it comes to politics or, things like that. That's just, not going to bode well with 51% of the population or 49%, depending upon where you are. So be careful with that kind of stuff. But I think there's now more than ever, David, there's more emphasis on the personal social media pages and the business pages than ever before. Think about Facebook. How much business do you get, David, on the Do It Marketing page versus the David Newman page?
It's all about personal.
Yeah. And same with me, and same with realtors, and same with executives, and on LinkedIn. It's not the company pages, it's the personal pages. And Facebook is double downing, if that's a word, more on the personal side than the business side anyway. They're making you pay to get any engagement from a business side to begin with. So, just try to be as much as you can your unique self on the personal side of both Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and humanize your brand.
There you go, buddy. Boom. Mic drop. That was the moment that everyone's been waiting for. All right. Well, as we're wrapping up here, I'm going to ask you two final questions. Final question number 2 is going to be, how do people get connected and stay connected to your fantastic empire, and whatever goodies and stuff that you want to share, we'll put that in the show notes, and we'll just get people all connected to you on social, on the website, on everything. Before I get to that question though, if people were to take one central idea or one key concept away from our conversation today, what would you hope that would be?
I would say, as you're growing your speaking business, as you're growing your kind of platform business, if you will, know when to delegate and know when to allow people who are better at the jobs than you are to do them. And I think those resources I mentioned are really, really helpful. Taking care of those people that you do bring on is really, really helpful. I look at them as investments, as assets. The best assets we'll ever have, better than stocks, better than bonds or whatever, better than houses that you can get, whatever the case may be. But the people that are a part of your organization, if you invest in them, the fruits of what can come out of that is just tremendously valuable from a career standpoint. So I guess, out of this conversation, which I've really enjoyed, David, thanks for asking such, unique and interesting questions, is to really just pour in energy and invest in the people that are a part of your organization, and the fruits will come out and blossom beautifully.
Amen. Amen times 10. All right, Corey Perlman, how do people get connected and stay connected to impact social media? Corey Perlman, keynote speaker, all the wonderful stuff that you have to share.
Well, with your group, especially your group, please come connect with me individually, obviously, as everything we've talked about now, So go to my business page. But if you'd like to connect, I'd love to stay connected with some of you. I'm probably already am connected with you, but on LinkedIn, I'm Corey L. Perlman. I think Corey Perlman was taken. In Facebook, you can find me. It's Corey with an E. and Perlman is my last name. I'm sure you'll have that in the notes. And then my website address is coreyperlman.com, and all those links are there. And impactsocialmedia.com is our agency website. So those would be the ways that you can get a hold of us. And yeah, the book, Social Media Overload, David, if people wanted to pick up a copy of that on Amazon, although I did write it a few years ago. Oh, there's my last bonus tip for you. Make your books evergreen. Evergreen books are much better than tactical, dated books. So don't buy eBootcamp because it's all tactics and it's all old and dated, but buy Social Media Overload because there's fundamentals in there that'll help you no matter what year it is. So
awesome. Corey Perlman, you the man. We're going to have you back. Is that all right?
Dude, I'd talk to you any day of the week, man. Just let me know. I'll be here.
We'll go back to the bourbon cast. We'll do all kinds of crazy stuff together. It'll be awesome.
I'm in, man. Anytime, especially with bourbon. Count me in. Love you guys.